Hey, what's up? Welcome back to Startup Screen Printing. My name is Jesse. Today I want to show you guys my tips for loading shirts onto the platen straight. And I can tell you this is one of the hardest parts when you're just getting started. I feel like this was more frustrating for me than actually doing the print. It can be intimidating and it can be troublesome. And I spent so much time when I was first getting started loading every single shirt. I would just spend so much time trying to make sure, I'm down, looking at it, trying to make sure that it's straight. So I get it. This is tough. This is the intimidating part. Everybody struggles with this part until you really get the hang of it. So I think getting a good load of the shirt, getting it loaded on there straight and being efficient with it starts with stacking the shirt and having it ready to go beside you whenever you're up at the press ready to print. And one of the keys that you need to do here is that now a lot of times you'll stack these in order of size, and that's fine. That's good, especially if you're doing something like a left chest, and maybe where you're placing the shirt on the platen could change based on the size, because this placement of the print's not changing because your screen's not moving. So maybe you're going to load the shirt a little over for, like a 2X or something so that the print's not, in the middle of the shirt. But so you can stack these by size, and that's probably a good practice to get into. It's what I do with all of my orders. But the other key is that you want to stack these face down for whatever print you're going to do. So the print is going to go on the bottom, whatever's facing down. So in this case, this is the back of the shirt here. And so I would face these face down, the back of the shirt up, because I'm going to print the front of the shirt. And so the reason for that, I usually have mine. I make sure that, the platens are not going to hit. And now I'm ready to go. And so I'm ready to print. I'm going to take this and I'm going to take one hand, pull up on one, take my other hand and slide it over, and then take this hand and slide it over. So now I have the shirt. I've got the seams on both of these, on both sides. This works great with shirts that have a seam. You are going to find some shirts that are, all the way around. They don't have a seam. And I think Gildan maybe are like that. They're super frustrating. It really is even more difficult to get the shirt lined up on press. I print with mostly Bella Canvas. That's like what 80% of my customers order are Bella Canvas shirts. And so they all have a side seam, which is great. A lot of times with the Gildan or any of the ones that don't have a side seam, sometimes you'll see a crease in the middle of the shirt. These tri-blends, you don't really see that as much, but sometimes you will notice a crease in the middle of the shirt, and that can help you get started with lining up, but that's not necessarily a true center line of that shirt. So just keep that in mind. So I'm going to pull it up, one hand in, the other hand in, and then I take and just flip it under. And when I'm flipping, I'm now moving my hands where I was like this. When I flip over, my thumbs are coming out. And so now I've still got an awareness of where the seams are because my fingers are still touching the seams. So I'm pulling it over, flipping it, and I'm gonna press the top of the fabric down. This allows the bottom of the shirt to drop down so that I don't get hung on these knobs. So I'm gonna put it down and slide it all the way back, okay? And then I'm gonna let go. Now I've gotten it pretty close to straight just by taking those seams and having them in the same place on both hands and then pulling it in. I've got it pretty well straight. So I'm going to stop here. I'm going all the way back. And now I'm going to come back and I'm going to grab the seams right at the intersection of the sleeves. So the very top here where the sleeve seam comes or the top seam comes in contact with the sleeve, I'm grabbing those on both sides. And then I'm just going to lift up on the shirt slightly and pull back until I get I like to hang my collar seam just over the edge of the screen like that. Now I'm looking at both of these sides of the sleeve here and seeing that those are pretty well similar, right? That's about the same amount. I'm going to take my hands and I'm going to find the seam where it meets in the armpit, okay? And I'm going to take that, find where that's at. I'm pushing my finger up against the platen and I'm just going to slide all the way down. And if I feel that seam dipping on one side, and I'll probably feel it going up on the other, then at that point, I know that shirt's a little offline there. So that's a little bit off here. So I'm going to pull the bottom in. Now I'm sliding, and now that's pretty well the same distance the entire way. Okay. Another area that I can check is I can take my hands on this side and I can push the shirt in until my fingertips hit the seams. And if I push my fingers in at the same time, they should hit the seams at about the same time. And so now they're hitting the seams, and I can see my hand is under the platen, both of them at about the same distance. So I can tell now this shirt's pretty well straight. I've got this pretty well straight on press. I'm ready to go. Now the last thing I'm going to do is take and smooth out all of the creases, and I'm going to make sure that sticks down to the adhesive. And now this shirt's not moving. I've got a super flat substrate here. It seems to be very even. I can look at the collar and see if I pull this back, that tag, while it's not always in the center of the shirt, it looks even. I've got both sides of the collar here, and that looks even. So now I'm good to go. I can print this and move on to the next one. Now, another thing that you can do if you have an alignment system or you have a press that could handle one of these, then if I turn this on, and I bumped this the other day, so it's totally out of line, but if I'm going to just line it up really quick. Now you can line these things up to your print, and so that looks pretty good there as far as lined up. So I'm going to pull it out, load it in, take this and pull it back, drop it, go a little further. I didn't get my collar all the way off. Drop it right there. And now I'm pretty good. So I'm getting pretty straight. And I could take this and pull it down to the armpits. And so then I could take my two armpits and I could say, all right, I've got those in line because that laser is hitting them right there. But I think it's important to know how to do this without the laser because it's not an important upgrade for you to make for your press quite yet if you're just getting started. So got that one on. I'm not going to worry about pressing it down because I'm not really doing that. Get this press out of the way. All right. So we're going to do it again. Now, some other things that you can do, this is a lot of times you'll see people talk about the rocking motion. And so it's essentially this. I'm going to go back and this, and I'm doing this until I get it nice and straight. And that, see, it's a little off, so I'm going to do it again. Nice and straight. So that looks pretty good. I can make sure, rubbing my fingers on the sides, those feel even. Those feel even. You can also pull these out and just look at it and say, all right, yeah, that looks pretty even. All right, good to go. We're ready to do the next one. So that rocking motion can help out as well. If you just like, it's on there and maybe it's like this and you're like, God, that's way off. Well, pull it back. And just the nature of this pulling back against a flat surface, or even if you have the neck loop, the neck hump, the shirt pulling back, if you pull straight back, you will eventually end up with a shirt that's lined up. At least the majority of the way lined up. Now I can pull back, can pull down a little bit wherever I'm at, and then I lay that down and I'm good to go. I can make sure if it seems off, just pop it up, do it again and say, yep, now that seems pretty good. Checking my armpits. I'll look at those from overhead. Those are about in line. If this one was down more, then I could see, yeah, that's off. So this needs to come back. So I would do it again. And that's my process. And so this would be full speed. This is how I would do when I'm actually printing. Obviously, I would print before I'm loading another shirt. That one went on there way crooked, so I'm going to do it again. There we go. A little far on the left side. All right, that's good. So now I'll lay that down, pull that down and print, and I'm ready to go. So, doesn't have to be hard. It takes a lot of practice. It takes a good feel for where the seams are. If you don't have seams, then you use things like the armpits, the top seam if it's there. If these are a raglan, then you're not going to have that top seam. It's not going to be as helpful, but you will have the seams coming across the corner for a raglan, and those can be helpful. So I don't have a raglan shirt, but those can be helpful because you can look and see like, well, this seam has that much distance and this seam has this much distance. So obviously the shirt is this way. So I need to even these seams out. So whatever shirt you're loading, whatever hoodie, when you're doing hoodies, let me grab a hoodie because that can really help. There are other things to look at on hoodies that can be super helpful. In fact, this hoodie is a raglan, so we'll go ahead and use this as a perfect example. All right. So I got a hoodie here. It's a raglan hoodie. So if I were to place this down, then I go to load this. I've got the seams, touch it with my pinkies. I know where they're at. I'm going to pull this over. And then I'm going to pull it back. So now this one has it all. It's got side seams. It's got the raglan seams. It's got a pocket. Now I've got a lot of things I can look at to make sure this is lined up. I've got these two raglan seams here that look great. I've got the center of this seam here where it comes in. That's right in the center of the platen. I've got my pocket down here that looks straight. Now, a caveat, a lot of times these hoodies, these pockets are not always straight, okay? So kind of like the seam down in the middle of the shirt, don't take these as gospel, okay? This is just a visual alignment of the shirt. Now, I say that also to say that sometimes you'll get the shirt straight and it's on there perfectly straight, but the pocket is a little bit crooked. And I would say, depending on your design, if your design's really long and it is straight across on the bottom, you might want to split the difference a little bit between what's truly straight and what visually looks best with the line of the pocket. Because if you have a design that even if it looks straight on a person or on the hoodie itself, but it's totally cockeyed from the pocket, you either are going to have a weird look, or better yet, what you really should do is pull that shirt off, don't print it, and send that back to the vendor. Contact the vendor and say, hey, this pocket, send them a picture. Hey, this pocket is super offline. It's mis-sewn. Can I get a replacement? And they'll send you a replacement for that. So I haven't worked with a vendor yet, S&S, Sanmar, and Alpha Broder. I've had to do it with all three of them, and they've all been great about it. Delta Apparel is another one that's been really good about it. So raglan seams, center of the neck. I've got side seams on this one, but also watch that pocket, and it can kind of help with a good visual alignment as well. So that's it. It takes practice. So just practice. If you don't have anything to print and you're just getting started, just come down here with a stack of shirts, or go up to your press with a stack of shirts and practice loading them and unloading, loading them and unloading. If you have multiple locations, then you'll spin around and load several. Unload them, do it all over again. Just practice so that then when it comes time for you to actually do a print, you are moving with more efficiency because you have practice. Don't wait till you have a print to do this, but just know that it's okay that this is intimidating to start with. It's an art form. Like I said, it takes practice. You'll get the hang of what shirts you like best. You'll understand pretty quickly why I like these with side seams. And you'll hate when orders come in with the other types, and you'll try to steer your customers away from those, which is what I do. So just practice it. Just keep practicing. And, sometimes it's obviously going to be a little misaligned sometimes, and you really just can't help that. It's the nature of being a manual screen printer. Something to tell your customers is, hey, these are manual prints. There could be some variance between each of them because it's a manual printer. And I don't mean variance in quality. They should all look incredible when you deliver it to a client. I mean, this one might be, if they were exact measurement from the top, the seam down to the artwork, that's going to vary because you're not getting this in an exact, like super precise manner to get this shirt on the platen. They're all relatively the same, but just something else to keep in mind. But just practice, takes lots of practice, loading those on, getting to where you can pull it, do a rocking motion till you get it straight, and then do the final precision where you pull it back, and then check the seams as you get ready, and then pull your screen down and go. So just lots of practice. And then obviously, taking the shirt off is a lot easier. When you go to remove the shirt, you're printed, you're ready to cure this. For me, I leave it on press to cure it because I'm curing with my flash. If you're curing with a dryer, you're one of the lucky ones that gets to use a dryer. Then you're going to do this differently. But if you're curing with a heat press, it's even different from there too. So what you're going to do is grab the back of the shirt, and you're just going to, in one motion, pop up with your hands and your wrists. So you're just going to pop up like that, pops the shirt loose, and then you can take and pull it off. And if you've got a dryer, you're going to set that on the conveyor belt. For me, since I cure with a flash, I'm still going to pop it loose, because if I leave this stuck down and adhered to the adhesive on the platen, the heat's not going to be able to get underneath the shirt and really get it to temperature, and it's not going to be able to cure the ink all the way through. Okay, it's just going to cure the top, and I don't want that. I want it to go all the way through, so I need airflow underneath the garment. So I'm going to pop it up, and then pull it back just a little bit. I leave a little bit of distance here so I can see the platen, and this tells me, I said this in another video, this tells me that, hey, this shirt's cured. I don't need to print. I need to replace this one, because the others, I can't see the platen. I know that this shirt is not finished yet. Even if it has a print on it, I need to do another layer because it hasn't been pulled off the platen yet. So I pull it off, pull it back a little bit, leave that indicator, and then when it comes back around, it's already cured. I take my hanger, I pull one side of the collar up, I slide it in and pull it off like that and hang it up behind me. And I do that with every single one of my shirts. And for me, that motion of doing this and hang up, I pull this thing around closer to me, is the same as if I did this and plop this down on a conveyor belt. It takes the same amount of time. So I'm not worried about it. It works out great. What you don't want to do, though, is stack these hot shirts right on top of each other, because the prints could still be sticky or somewhat wet. It's unlikely, but they could be, and they could stick to each other, especially if you have a back print laying on top of a front print and one of them's hot, they could stick to each other. That's more likely with plastisol than water-based, but still a possibility, so something to be aware of. All right, that's it. Let me know what questions you have. Hopefully this is helpful for you. Hopefully this has encouraged you that just because you haven't been able to do it or it seems intimidating right now doesn't mean you won't be able to. And it just takes practice. You will get there. I don't load the shirts as efficiently as so many other people out there. I mean, especially you watch a lot of videos on YouTube and you find out guys and girls are doing this so quick and they make it look so easy. And it just comes down to the fact that they've had more practice. So all it takes is practice and time, and you'll get the hang of what works for you. And it won't be the right or wrong way. It'll just be the right way for you. So figure out what that is and go with it. And don't worry about doing it differently. Just be efficient and do what works for you. So that's it. Let me know what you guys think. Look forward to hearing from you. Let me know in the comments, what other problems you're having as it comes to, production process and screen printing, et cetera, so that I can try and help you out. So I'm enjoying making these videos. Look forward to bringing you more. If you're not following me on the other channels, please do so. Social media. The website has links to all of that, and it's got the link to the email newsletter. Please sign up. So I'm going to be sending more content on that as well. Until then, hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video.